Something is changing in the workplace. It's not loud. It's definitely not sudden. It's happening right now, kind of under the surface of our daily routines.
You didn't get a company-wide email about it.
There was no all-hands meeting to, prepare you. And that's the most unsettling part, isn't it? The work is still getting done. The outputs are still being delivered. But if you really look around, there are fewer people involved. So that's the question we're really digging into today. It's a question that every ambitious professional, what we at The Effective Professional call, well, an effective professional, is probably starting to feel in their gut. This isn't about some dramatic Hollywood robot takeover. No, this is about a quiet, creeping obsolescence that we might actually be mistaking for progress. And this, right here, is the fundamental truth we all have to confront. The danger isn't really the technology itself. The real danger is our own ability to just adapt to these small, incremental changes until one day we wake up and we're in a completely new reality and we have no idea how we got there.
Okay, so let's put a name to this whole phenomenon. We're calling this first phase the silent replacement. And it's not about big, splashy mass layoffs that hit the news. It's about something much quieter, an invisible reduction happening one tiny step at a time.
Think about it for a second. Your last big project. Was there maybe one less person copied on that final email chain? Did a process that used to need a manager's sign-off suddenly get approved automatically by the system? What about that weekly check-in meeting that used to have, say, 5 people? Is it suddenly down to 4? Each one of these changes on its own seems totally logical. It seems like a smart way to streamline things. Tell me, have you seen this happening?
And this just brilliantly captures the core mechanism. Nobody is getting fired by the AI. Instead, the justification for their role is being methodically chipped away by the technology. See, the system isn't targeting people, it's targeting inefficiencies. The problem is, in the past, human roles were often the things that filled those gaps, the time it took to double-check something, to interpret a messy report, to connect 2 different departments. And when AI smooths all of that over, the need for that human bridge just vanishes. So when that person eventually leaves or gets reassigned, it doesn't feel like a person was removed. It feels like a bottleneck was. It feels like progress.
So, this leads us right into what we call the optimization trap. In this section, we're going to pull back the curtain on the real engine that's driving this silent replacement. It's not magic, it's a fundamental rewiring of how work actually gets done.
Okay, let's just break down this decision loop. Look at the earlier column. A human being was at the center of every single critical step. Data would come in, and a person, an analyst, a manager, a strategist, they had to interpret it. They had to ask, so what? What does this actually mean for us? Based on that human interpretation, they made a decision, and then they acted on it. Now, look at the now column. AI is systematically inserting itself into each of these steps. It's not just gathering data anymore, it's interpreting it, finding patterns a human might totally miss. It's not just showing you options, it's suggesting the optimal one. And in more and more cases, for routine decisions, it's just making the final call itself.
And that's the truly wild part, isn't it? If you're in leadership and you're just looking at a dashboard, everything looks great. In fact, it probably looks better. Reports get generated faster, decisions are made quicker, the output is consistent. So why on earth would you question a system that's delivering the same or even better results with what looks like less friction? The human element that was once totally essential is now just being abstracted away. And the system doesn't register that as a loss. Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. This new loop has these clear, measurable benefits that are incredibly attractive to any organization. It slashes the time from data to action. It reduces the need for constant human oversight, which frees up management's time. And it shortens those long, painful dependency chains where projects used to get stuck for weeks waiting on approvals. The cumulative result of all these little optimizations is undeniable. You simply need fewer people to produce the exact same value. And because the output stays stable or even gets better, no alarms go off. It's like the perfect crime happening in plain sight. Okay, this brings us to what might be the most critical part of this entire discussion, the personal risk. It's one thing to talk about this as a big, abstract, systemic shift, but the real danger is how we, as individuals, can actually become complicit in our own replacement. We call this normalizing your decline. Come on, we all say this. I know I say this. When some new AI tool can summarize a 50-page report for you in 30 seconds, your first thought isn't, oh no, this threatens my core analytical skills. Your first thought is, awesome, this just saved me 3 hours. We embrace these tools because they genuinely do reduce the friction and effort in our daily work. And on a micro level, that feels like a huge win. But this is the paradox we have to get our heads around. Every single time you offload a cognitive task to an AI, you are also training the system, and frankly your colleagues, that your direct human involvement in that task is no longer essential. The effort that's being reduced, that was once a key part of your job description. The time you spent analyzing, summarizing, drafting, that was the very work that proved your value. As that work gets automated away, your unique necessity shrinks in direct proportion. And this doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, quiet erosion. First, people just stop asking for your opinion on the raw data because, the AI summary is good enough. Then, pretty soon, you're no longer required to be in that preliminary meeting because the AI has already drafted the initial plan. And then finally, entire workflows are built that just bypass you completely. You are dependent on less and less and less. And the most dangerous part? Because nothing breaks, because the work still gets done, nobody complains. You don't even complain because, hey, your workload is lighter. You have just normalized your own slide into irrelevance.
And that's the absolute heart of the trap. The entire process is disguised as a personal and an organizational improvement. Your job gets easier, the company gets more efficient, and the whole system seems to be working better than ever before. The replacement of your core functions doesn't feel like a threat at all. It feels like an upgrade.
But, and this is a big but, it doesn't have to end there. You cannot fight this silent replacement by just trying to do your old job faster or harder. The system isn't targeting you, remember? It's redesigning itself around you. So your response has to be just as strategic. This final section is all about making the necessary shift from being a component in the system to being an architect of it. This is the shift to control.
Okay, this slide right here, this is your new career map. Look at that left column, execution. That's where most knowledge work has traditionally lived. Doing the work, being a reliable part of a process. Now look at the right column, control. This is where professional relevance is going to be concentrated in the age of AI. It is a fundamental move from doing to directing. So instead of just performing the analysis, you need to be the one who owns the business outcome that the analysis is supposed to achieve. Instead of just following the project plan, you have to be the one who's defining the strategic direction. You have to pivot from just responding to tasks to setting the goals that generate those tasks in the first place.
Because this is where AI, for all of its incredible power, is still just a tool. It can optimize a path to a destination with unbelievable efficiency, but it cannot choose the destination. It can't decide what the business should ultimately value. It can present you with 1,000 options, but it can't make a truly strategic trade-off, like sacrificing short-term profit for long-term market share, for example. And it absolutely cannot take ultimate accountability for a final decision. These are not execution layers. These are control layers. They require human judgment, context, and accountability. Look, this is the choice that every single professional is now facing. If your primary value is in executing well-defined tasks, your role is on a path to silent elimination. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The only sustainable path forward is to actively climb up into these layers of control, of strategy, and of decision-making. You have to make yourself the person who directs the AI, not the person who is directed by its outputs. So let's be really clear. The whole narrative that this is the end of all jobs is probably way too simplistic. But what we are witnessing is something far more subtle and maybe even more profound. The beginning of the silent elimination of entire categories of work that we once thought were totally safe. The challenge isn't a world with no jobs. It's a world where the qualifications for having a relevant job have fundamentally and permanently changed. Now, this shift from execution to control, it's not going to look the same for every profession. Some roles are way more exposed to this silent replacement than others. To understand which jobs are on the front lines and how this whole evolution is going to play out across different industries, you're going to want to stay with us. This is the conversation that will define the next decade of your career, and we'll be right here to help you navigate it. So, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next.